in vain, for he is God's minister, an avenger to execute wrath on him who practices evil. Therefore you must be subject, not only because of wrath, but also for conscience sake. Brothers and sisters, would you pray with me? Heavenly Father, once again we come before you. Bowed heads, humble hearts, and joyful spirits. We come before you to say thank you. Thank you for the time, the place, the company, the occasion. Father, we've heard in your word where you have placed the government in place, and we're all subject to it, Father. And I ask right now that we submit to that will. I ask, Father, that we be quick to listen and slow to anger, that we seek first to understand, that we treat each other with respect and love, that we embrace this concept of coming together to determine how our community will be run and how it will be governed, that we see it as this true great opportunity to practice our faith in you. Father, I also would ask that you would forgive us all for our sins and that you would all continue to bless us and keep us. This is our prayer this evening, Father, as we acknowledge your presence in the room. In your word, you said you would never leave us nor forsake us, and we stand upon that word right now. This is our prayer in the mighty name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. All right, officer, if you will come up.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. You all may be seated. Let me say a few words about these two gentlemen. First up, Elder Frank Hudson is with True Life Church. He is a retired Navy veteran. We thank you for your service, sir. 1976 graduate from Rica High School. Man, that was some years ago. Returned home to Rica in 2012. He is the father to John Hudson, who served on the school board in the 1970s. Oh, his father, I'm sorry. I was trying to do the math real quick. I said, this is not working. Thank you for being here tonight, sir. And we have, give him a round of applause. And we have one of our newest officers. If you all have been paying attention, we've brought on a number of new officers, young men and women who have answered the call to duty, and we appreciate their service. I want to introduce you to Officer Davian Bugg. Officer Bugg is a military intelligence analyst for the United States Army. From early childhood, he learned of the traumatic, powerless, and helpless feeling of growing up and having to function every day in a domestic violence home. His greatest aspiration is to make a difference in as many people's lives as God will allow in his time on this earth. He has learned in his short time of being a police officer that there is not a day that goes by that he can't make a difference in the community, whether that is giving words of encouragement, support, or even something as simple as a hug that can change someone's life. I appreciate your service. Y'all give him a round of applause. Thank you for being here tonight. All right, let's move on here if we can into ceremonial presentations. We'd like to recognize some of our very worthwhile employees for their years of service. And first up is a retirement for Miss Dorothy Worth. And I'm going to ask Tracy, the Director of Parks and Rec, to come up. You all have a handheld mic for her. Come on up here, Tracy. And I have I believe I have a plaque here for Miss Worthen.
Come on up, Miss Worthen.
And Lisa. Is Lisa here? Come on up here.
Thank you guys for coming, Miss Dorothy. I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss the fun we have. You've always had a real cheerful nature about yourself, and I'm going to
tell everything we know.
Well, we have. I'm telling the nice stuff here, okay? I'm not telling the other stuff. And Lisa has worked very, very closely with you for the last year and a half, 2 years, so I wanted her to come up and say our parting words for you. But I wish you all the luck in the world. So.
Thank you.
All right.
And excuse me, because I wrote this down. I'm going to read what I wrote, so it's all good. All right, Miss Dorothy started working at the age of 16. She worked in various locations over the years, including driving a bus and working in the lunchroom for Carroll County Schools. And that was for around 20 years that you did that. In May of 2005, she started part-time with the City of Villa Rica, and in May of 2006, she moved into the full-time position in the Senior Center kitchen, where she planned and cooked meals for the seniors and the Meals on Wheels program. Over the 17 years Dorothy spent in the Senior Center kitchen, she ordered food, cooked nutrition meals, and spent time with many seniors who now consider you their friend. Dorothy has promised the seniors and me that she will join the seniors now and participate in activities with us. So we will see you again soon. In the meantime, we hope you enjoy working in your yard and spending time with your family. And we love you.
Oh, thank you. Tracy, we have a plaque here for her.
All right, let's start. This is presented to Dorothy Worthen, Senior Center Assistant, and grateful appreciation for your outstanding contributions and commitment to the City of Villa Rica. Congratulations on your retirement.
Yeah, we'll do a photo. Who's taking pictures? Absolutely. Thank you so much for your service.
Thank you.
Seen you out there many times.
Thank you. We'll get her out playing pickleball. That's right.
Now you're going to get the discussion started about pickleball. Please give her a round of applause. Every time the word pickleball comes up, I start getting asked about when we're going to have more pickleball courts and when we're going to build some out at Powell Park, and all of that stuff is sort of still in process. Right, Tracy?
Well, I don't know about what the people at Powell Park might say. Noisy game.
I got you. Okay. All right. At any rate, we appreciate Dorothy for all her years of service, so thank you, ma'am. Next, we're going to get Christopher Rowan, Officer Rowan, for 10 years with the Villa Rica Police Department. Chief, come on up here, and there he is. Hand him that mic.
As you can tell, Chris loves this.
It's not on.
Cut it off for me? You know what that means? Short and sweet. So Chris has been with us 10 years. He came to us from the Navy. He served 20 years in the Navy. He retired as a admiral. No, he didn't. I'm just kidding. But Chris has been with us. He has worked patrol. He was an SRO at Blanton Heinzman.
Yes.
And they loved Chris Rowan.
Yes, they did.
They did. I mean, you talk, every time I would go see the principal, she'd say, "You're not taking Chris, are you? You're not I'm not taking Chris." And finally, he decided to make a change, and he applied to be an investigator. And currently, he is an investigator with us. He is one of them that people go to and ask advice to because he's so precise, and he really does a great job with his cases. Also, he is our drone operator and has been a huge asset in that field because he's able to put the drone up when we need it if we're looking for somebody that's lost or whatever, and that's been a great help to us. So Chris has done a lot for our department. We're thrilled to have him for 10 years, and we hope we keep him at least another 20 more. So congratulations, Chris.
Give him a round of applause. Thank you, sir. You want to give him this? All right, next up, William Walton, 5 years with the Villa Rica Police Department.
Will Walton.
I've
We
seen
call
him.
him Will. Will has been with us for 5 years. Will started out in patrol. He moved up in rank and was a corporal for a while with us. Will came from the fire service. I was always told, don't hire a former fireman. And I understood. No, I didn't understand. We did great with both of ours. We've hired 2 that were former fire, and they've been awesome. Will has been a huge asset in so many different ways. He's worked on patrol, like I said. He was a corporal on his shift, did a great job on that, and then the task force position came open. And guys, I'm going to tell you, and I'm being honest as I can be when I say this, he has done as good a job as anybody we've had at the task force. And that the task force guys will tell you the same thing. He is doing a fantastic job. He has worked several cases in town for us and worked some things that we've gotten taken care of and gotten some people that we've been trying to catch for a while that was dealing drugs. And he's been just huge in that field. So we appreciate the job you're doing. 5 years. Thank you, Will. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you, sir.
You don't really want your picture on social media, do you?
All right, next, Shane Shepard. Come on up here, Officer Shepard.
Shane was hired the same time Will was hired, and he was also a former fireman. And Shane came to us, has been with us 5 years. Shane has been on patrol for those 5 years on night shift, pretty much the whole time, I think, right? He's been promoted to corporal. You've been a corporal for almost a little over a year. I thought it was a year and a half. So, yeah, he's been a corporal with us on night shift. Great leader on the shift. The people really enjoy working with him. He's done an awesome job in that field, and we just appreciate the job he's doing for us and for the department. So thank you, Shane.
Thank you. All right,
Thank
very
you,
good.
sir.
Yeah, let me just say, I want to point out that it's been a while since we've had this number of police officers in here to celebrate their years of service here. So I think we should give the chief a round of applause for some of that stuff right now. We got things going in a good direction over there, and I'm pleased. You did have a couple comments you wanted to make tonight. Let me just go ahead and let you do that now,
Okay,
if you're
we're
okay.
doing that now,
Yeah,
Mr. Mayor?
let's do that.
Okay, two things. First thing, we're doing a fundraiser for Michelle Moore Landrum. Michelle's a sergeant with us. She is a SRO sergeant, so she's over all the SROs. I guess it's been 2 or 3 months. May 21st, she had a stroke while she was at the high school, or at the school, and she called Lujan because she knew something was going wrong. Lieutenant Lujan went and got her, and by the time he got her to the hospital, she was completely out. And they were able to get her medicine to help reverse most of it. She's still having a lot of stuff going on, struggles with it. But we're doing a fundraiser for her, and it's a fishing tournament this weekend in West Point Lake. And we're asking for donations. We're asking for sponsorships. We're also raffling off a gun if anybody wants to buy a ticket to get with me or Lieutenant Lujan for that. And we're doing all of this for Michelle because even with the insurance and all, there's still a good bit of out of pocket. There's still a lot of travel. There's things like that we're doing. We've raised enough already from sponsorships to pay the entry or to pay the awards stuff for the fishermen. So everything after that goes to Michelle. So anybody that would like to help, we would appreciate that very much. Second thing is our Citizens Police Academy. We do it once a year. It starts in August, and it starts next Thursday night. It's a 9-week program, and you come here every Thursday night. We feed you, so that's cool. It's free. We have different events here every Thursday night. We'll have speakers. We'll have a K-9. We'll have the GBI sketch artist that comes and does a fantastic job. You'll learn about patrol. You'll learn about investigations. You'll get to work a crime scene. You'll get to wear the drunk goggles and drive the golf cart. And if you're good at that, that's not good. If you know, so don't be good. At least act like you're not doing good. And you also get to do a traffic stop where you will be the officer. And so you will see how quickly that can go bad or whatever. You have to deal with that and do with that. So there's a lot of different things that we do. Like I said, we feed you and we take care of you. We also do gun safety and things like that. So please, we do a tour of the jail and 911. So you get to do that. So it's all kinds of different cool stuff. So please consider that. I brought applications with me. I'm going to leave them outside, so when you leave, grab them, sign up, and we'll get you taken care of. So thank you very much.
All right, Chief, just one thing. How can people make contributions?
They can give money to me.
I was afraid you was going to say that.
And if they want to buy tickets, I can give them a ticket. If they just want to donate, they can give it to me. Hunter or Lujan will put it in our envelopes to take care of it. And like I said, every bit of it will be going through to her. It's being sponsored by the Carrollton FOP because Michelle is a member of the FOP, and they're doing the sponsorship for us. They're helping us put it on, and that's the Fraternal Order of Police, and they're helping us put it on. So, and they're helping us do the fishing tournament.
Not to put you on the spot, but what about the people listening at home?
If they want to donate, they can bring it by the PD. They can come to the event and donate. We're going to be giving away some door prizes that people can win. We're also going to have the raffle for the guns.
Will you put a post out on Facebook?
We have,
let's
and
do
we
that.
will again.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank
we will keep doing that.
Who can you make a check to?
Sir,
Who can you make a check to? To
If
the
you-
Carrollton FOP?
yes, sir. If you write a check, make it out to Carrollton FOP, and then put in the remarks section, Sergeant Landrum fundraiser.
Is it possible to make an online donation?
Only because it's so easy for
People
that you
could,
get more
yeah.
money. You just
Yeah, we don't have that available. I don't think
Okay.
so.
I'm just trying to,
I don't know how to do it, but I bet you.
if there's a
people
chance.
can.
Okay.
I mean, if somebody has to do it electronically, if they want to send it to, I can get with them and we'll figure out a way to do it. We may just send it straight to her or something like that. But we'll get it worked out. If that's the only way you can do it, we'll work it out because we want to raise as much as we can for her.
I think the FOP has a Venmo. I think they do.
Okay, we'll check on that
Maybe
to see if
put a
there's
link
a
out for
Venmo.
that then.
Okay,
Okay,
we'll put
all right.
out a link for it.
Thank
All
you,
right.
sir.
Anything else? Any other questions?
We're gonna
Yes,
start taking-
ma'am. Can I answer her question?
Yeah, let's,
Of course, I don't have a question, I have a comment. That anyone who has given any thought at all to attending the Citizens Academy, you must do it. It is something that myself and my husband attended. He at first didn't want to. He enjoyed it. And we learned a lot. It will give you a whole new appreciation for our police department.
well, thank you, Miss Ladd.
Thank you, ma'am.
Give her a round of applause.
I started to give her 20, but I don't think I'm supposed to.
That's entirely unscripted. Give the ladies back that microphone. All right. Thank you, Chief. Let's move on to the adoption of the agenda. Is there an amendment for this agenda?
Yeah, I have
Mr. Carter?
I need to add A3, reconsideration of VA-03-23.
Give me just a second. So A3, reconsideration of,
VA-03-23.
all right, reconsideration of VA-0323?
Yeah, dash 23.
Okay. And is that the item that you've laid before us
Yes.
earlier today? All right. That's good enough. I'm just going to leave that on the. Anybody else have any modifications to the agenda? Okay. Is there a
Mayor,
motion? Yeah,
Well,
Mr.
I just noticed that
Montana.
we didn't have the July minutes on here. Is that?
They're
are
not
they
going to
still in
have them.
process? Okay.
Yeah, they're still in. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
So moved.
I have a motion from Mr. Carter to adopt the
Second.
agenda as amended.
Second.
A second from Mr. Montahan. All in favor? All right, that's unanimous. Okay, let's move on to public comment. Okay, when you came in tonight, there was a sign-up sheet in the lobby. If you are here to speak on an item that is on the agenda tonight that has a public hearing, If I call your name and you meant to be here for the public hearing, you can just let me know, and you'll be recognized during the public hearing. However, you can still speak now. You can speak both times, either way. Please keep your comments on a professional level. We will not accept comments that are considered by the chair to be of a personal attack on any individual or group of individuals. If you deviate from this protocol, you'll receive a warning from the chair. If you deviate a second time, we'll ask you to leave. Only one person speaking at a time. Please, no comments from the audience. Address your comments to the mayor and council. And just as a side note, there is generally no response from the council. This is your 3 minutes. And the clock is up. I'll ask for Miss Sharon Giannuzzi. Did I do that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Pull that mic down. You say your name and address for the record, and we'll give you 3 minutes.
All right. My name is Sharon Giannuzzi, and I live at 201 Milford Place in Villa Rica.
Wonderful.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and distinguished council members. I'm here tonight to talk about pickleball.
I knew it.
And today is National Pickleball Day for everyone, was just to let you know. I wanted to present you also with a petition signed by over 300 people that
Wow.
requests dedicated pickleball courts in Villa Rica. So if you haven't heard of it before, I'm sure you're wondering, what in the world is pickleball? And why would we want to support building dedicated courts here in Villa Rica? Well, pickleball would best be described as a cross between tennis and ping pong. One pickleball court can fit on one side of a tennis court. It uses a plastic ball, similar to a wiffle ball, and paddles that are slightly bigger than ping pong paddles. Pickleball is the fastest growing sport in America. In just the past 2 years, we have grown from 5 million to 35 million players nationwide. However, with all of this growth comes a problem. There are not enough courts for the players, which is the same problem with us here in Villa Rica. Currently across the country, there is one tennis court for every 30 tennis players, but only one pickleball court for every 250 pickleball players. Unfortunately, there are no dedicated courts in Villa Rica right now, despite having almost 200 players show up every week. We've been playing in the Gold Dust gym floor as well as on the tennis courts currently, with lines that are quite difficult to make out at times. We've also had some scheduling conflicts with the basketball programs and tennis programs that we have here in Villa Rica. What makes pickleball so special? One thing that makes it unique is it is a fun, multi-generational, and easy-to-learn sport. That means that more people can play it and enjoy it almost immediately. It's a sport that young, old, and everyone in between can play together. It's a sport that welcomes diversity and greatly strengthens community. In this day and age with such division, pickleball is the great uniter. 4 years ago, I had a broken back and almost lost the ability to walk, not to mention play sports again. When I discovered pickleball, my whole life changed. This sport has given me the chance to gradually get moving again in a fun group setting. I was able to jump back into a program and get better and stronger at my own pace. In closing, I'd like to say, by supporting our efforts to build dedicated pickleball courts in Villa Rica, you are saying yes to further strengthening our community, yes to improving the health of our residents, and yes to making Villa Rica a place that people want to come and visit and play together. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Do you sell pickleball equipment? Yes, I was going to say give that petition to the clerk. All right, very good. And most of us have heard of it, and some of us are thinking about actually playing it, I guess, at this point. All right, Sonia Tonpea. Did I say that right? Say it again. Tonpea. Well, come on up here. You say your name, your address for the record. We'll give you 3 minutes, ma'am.
Okay, let me put my readers on, please.
Absolutely.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Pull your mic down just a hair.
My name is Sonia Stewart Tompier. I'm the CEO of Stewart's Village, located right here in Villa Rica. I have been a fixture here in Villa Rica for over 25 years, serving the elderly in my personal care home, adult daycare, and visiting nurse. I was smitten with the city when I came here the first time. As I was cleaning, a young lady came by, and I might get teary, by the name of Nellie. And she said to me, if you give me a job, I'll do you a good job. Not only did she bring herself, she brought me three other people, Irene, Sarah, and Christine. I went to City Hall inquiring about the grades because I knew I had read in the paper last year that the grades were going, for a certain amount of money. So I did call Alyssa, but things just like side swiping, I didn't get down there. So when I realized I needed to be there, I went a couple of weeks ago. And Teresa said to me that the grades had increased exponentially. So my thought process was, were the marginalized community aware of this? Did they have any input? Because most of the people that's marginalized, like myself, don't have a great bit of money. Well, she said, I asked her, well, could I speak with the mayor? She said, well, he's out of town till Monday. So she said, but the city manager is here. So she came back out and she had a peculiar face. She said, he said to me that he didn't know when he could see you. And she reminded me and she said, I'm sorry. And I said, well, why are you sorry? May I proceed? I emailed the mayor on Monday to no avail. I then went to Webster to clarify the role of the mayor and the city manager. As I sat there, I recalled that same feeling when I came to Villa Rica 20-some years ago. And Mr. Grady Brown said to one of his closest friends, if you don't give her a license, she's going to own Stewart's Village. She's going to own Villa Rica. And as I close, I may say to you, Maya Angelou said, you may not remember what a person said to you. You may not remember how he looked at you, but you will always remember what he made you feel like. Thank you.
Interesting. All right, Gordon Van Dyke. Sir, come on up here. If you would give us your name and address for the record, we'll give you 3 minutes, sir. You're the one that said you sell pickleball equipment, right?
I was only kidding.
Oh.
But I'll sell anything if you want to buy it.
I got you. All right, go ahead.
So, Gordon Van Dyke, I'm from 215 Clinton Street, which is in Bremen. So can I still talk?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
All right. So I lived in Mirror Lake for 20 years. So the reason I'm here is just to put a little bit of numbers behind what has already been shared by Sharon, is that I did go to the Bremen Council and we met and I talked about the fact of how it was good for the old people there. It was also good if you see how many faith-based communities are coming up and opening their doors for pickleball players. It's amazing. So I guess that's why we come to the city, is to say, this is a growing sport. If you can buy there any day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, there's like 40, 50 people there. A lot of us are elderly, a little portly, some of us, more portly, less portly now than when we started pickleball. But just to give you a little bit of information, 20 by 44 feet is the size of a court. We believe we need probably 16 courts. We had 6 courts this Sunday, and people are waiting all the time trying to get a game. The cost-wise, just to give you a little bit of information, it's like $25,000 a court. 16 courts with lights and fencing is probably somewhere in the region of $600,000 to $700,000. If you add cover, add another $200,000. What a lot of communities are doing now is they're taking older buildings that are kind of not used anymore, and they're converting them into pickleball halls. So I'm just throwing that out there so that you all have some kind of understanding of what it is, and what the cost might be to go there. I know money's not always easily accessible, but we might as well throw it all out there. We're going to throw anything out there. And as you can tell, I'm probably not from around here. But thank you.
Your hair?
It's the hair.
Makes sense. All right, Rhonda McCullers. She's still here? There she is.
Who is that?
She moved. Come on up here and give us your
Good
name.
evening. Rhonda McCullers, 401 North Lost Lake Cove, Villa Rica. I am here to say thank you to the mayor and the council and to the police department and to the city to Tom Barber, Sarah, the girls at Main Street. This concert Saturday night was off the chain. It was fun. It was family oriented. It was exciting. There was a lot of people here. I was out amongst all the people, and people were telling me they hadn't been here before. They loved it. They loved everything that was happening. This is our second one. A couple months ago we had standing room only. I also had a lot of people tell me then that they loved being in Villa Rica, that they were so excited about the things that we were doing. And I don't know if you guys know, but I know it takes a lot of work. We have a lot of volunteers. I'm so thankful. I want to publicly thank my volunteers for coming out and working. There's a lot of work that goes into this. These city guys, they come out here, they're out here all day long setting up. They're out here the next day cleaning up. I know several people. I see everybody out there just working. Alyssa and the girls at Main Street did a fabulous job. They were setting up. They've got it together. So I just publicly wanted to say thank you. Thank you for making Villa Rica a fun place to be. Thank you for making families have a good time coming out here doing things. Thank you for protecting us, PD. Thank you, Chief, for letting you guys come out there and work. Thank you to everybody who has anything to do with that. And thank you for showing up, Villa Rica. A lot of good things are happening. Y'all keep coming out.
Woo, give her a round of applause. Lord have mercy. There's a lot of excitement in here today. But I will say something about that concert. I was there, and it was, it may not have been standing room only, but it was packed. And that amphitheater holds a lot of folks. To the staff down there, they made some changes to where vendors were set up, changed where the ticketing would be for the armbands. All of those volunteers all over the place. I mean, y'all just really did a jam-up job out there. I appreciate you saying that, Rhonda, so yes. All right, Robert, and I am not going to do that one. Flahy? That's correct. All right. Then I did good. Come on up here. Give us your name and address for the record, and we'll give you 3 minutes, sir.
Robert Flahy, 2119 Owls Way, Villa Rica. And I'd just like to second what Sharon had to say about the pickleball. That is it's a game for all ages. Maybe not the little kids just yet, but 10 years and up, they love to play it. And I think it would help the city a lot if we could have more courts available for us to play on. And that's all I have to say, but thank you for your time.
Well, it's a good message. Thank you, sir. All right, Art. How many Arts are in here? Just one? Because this one I'm not even qualified to try to pronounce. Could you do it for me?
It's Idaho, but you just pronounce it as E without the O at the end, so Ida.
All right. Okay. Well, you did good. Give us your address, and you got 3 minutes.
All right. Hi.
Go ahead.
All right. My name is Emmanuel Art Ida, and I stay at 29 Cashel Court, Villa Rica. I'd first like to thank you for having us here to speak.
Absolutely.
I'd like to thank Tracy Ivy, because what I'm about to say really involves something that she's actually done with the Rec Center to help bring us to the level we're at. I'd like to also thank you, because I didn't think you would have as many children and kids here today. All right, I'm sure you're wondering where the kids are. Well, before you left your homes today, some of you have had kids in your hearts, whether they were your children, or whether as you were driving here, you must have seen some kids here and there, or kids that you have in your mind that you've thought about. Well, the police department, I'm sure they have a lot of kids in their mind and they deal with, but you brought them here today in your heart. The question is, how can you make these kids or bring them into an environment where these kids can actually have something to do, a place of escape in certain scenarios? I'm talking about pickleball. All right, so we had started something at Villa Rica, Pickleball Compete.
I took a guess.
You did.
I thought it would be pickleball.
It's been great, and I can only speak based on experience. This is what I've experienced. I've seen kids come out and kids change. Kids come out and have the ability to not just mix with their peers, which is what you have in games like basketball. which you have everywhere, but you have the pairs playing. Now, I've been watching very closely. I've seen dads and kids play basketball together, but I'm yet to see a grandma come out and play basketball with those young kids, right? But pickleball is completely different, right? You have everybody coming together to play. It's a place where the young ones can actually come together and be able to relate together, as well as learn wisdom from the generations prior to theirs. It's just a beautiful experience. And we're really asking, there is only one person that has the ultimate say if we're going to have this pickleball courts or not, correct? But then he's placed most of us here in that position. And we believe working together we can make that happen, right? So we really hope that we would make this happen together, right? And again, we really appreciate you guys and appreciate everybody that's gathered here as well, all right? And God bless you all.
All right, thank you. All right, Boo Dufresne.
I'll take that.
All right. Come on up. There's a pickleball paddle in her hand.
I got come on up. I've always got come on down, but that's all good.
Come on down.
Okay, so this is the pickleball racket right here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So again, topic on pickleball. Now, I want to thank Tracy Ivy and Lisa Deming, because with Joy and Devonna back here, they got me into playing with those. They're pros. I mean, I'm going to tell you, they wore me out.
Okay.
I have arthritis in my back, and I'm going to tell you something. When I kept on walking into that kitchen cafeteria over here at the senior center, my crutches, they go, "What happened, Boo? What'd you do?" I went out there and played with them veterans, again, and pulled my back and stuff. So Lisa went, So Lisa Deming and Tracy Ivy, I want to thank you for supporting our senior pickleball group at the gym, at the senior center. Because without that, and of course I volunteered, I'm gonna like save my back so I can walk the rest of the month. So, but we have got statistics of, we got 3 80-year-olds that are playing pickleball that never even played a sport in their life. And the last tournament we had, I had people donating their medals so I could give it to them 80-year-old people. And that was something that was special. But I enjoy coaching. I coached co-ed when I was younger. Now I'm enjoying coaching pickleball, and I get out there and wing that paddle. I love it. But once you get this in your hand, you're going to sleep with it, I guarantee you. So
All right.
the statistics of older people getting out and motivating themselves and just wanting to get out of the house. Because when I moved here to Villa Rica, I was just staying in the house for all year long. And then someone said, "Hey, Boo, go to the senior center." I went, "Okay." So I went there, and then I met Joy, and then Devonna, and then Art. He got us in the program, and then he's educating me on the fundamentals of it so I can teach the class a little bit better. But
Gotcha.
we're all learning together. But we would appreciate more courts. And you know what? You guys are going to get to our age sooner or later. We're going to see you on the court.
All right.
Thank you.
Danny, will we be seeing you on the court? We're going to see you on the pickleball court? Well, she just said some people were going to get to your age, and I said, okay, let's see. All right, Rodney. Does that sound like somebody? RODNEY, 609 Sade Drive.
He probably wasn't here for pickleball.
That's too much commentary from the audience. I'm just kidding. Is there anybody here who did not sign up who would like to speak in public comments? I'll recognize you now. Anybody? All right. Well, I'm going to close public comments, and I'll just say that the overwhelming consensus tonight is that, Tracy, you got work to do over in that department in trying to push for pickleball. But I want to talk about some updates that I've got for the city. And one of these will be will be about the recreation department. So, but let me make a couple of announcements before I get into council updates. Tomorrow, August 9th, veteran Atlanta TV anchorman John Pruitt will be our guest for the Leadership Luncheon Series. This will take place at the V-Plex at 11:30 tomorrow. Last till about 1 o'clock, and John will be speaking over there. He's going to have copies of his book, if you would like to come out and hear him speak. He's got a long, remarkable career covering Georgia. You probably all at least know the name, John Pruitt, so I think if you get a chance, come out there tomorrow. And then we already talked a little bit about this, but our band this weekend was Lakeside. We had a massive showing. Thank you to Rhonda and her team and the ladies down in the Main Street Department, Alyssa and Madison and Karina for the job that they do down there. Want to also remind everybody that we've got the annual Gold Rush Festival coming up in September. There'll be a concert. What night is that concert? The 8th. So on the 8th, they have a concert. We have Departure that night. Departure is a terrific band. If you like Journey, these guys are amazing. So please come out to see that show on that Friday night. The next morning, we will have the Gold Rush Parade and the festivities that'll go on out here annually, just this year, just like happens annually. On August the 19th, we have the Miss Gold Rush pageant. That'll be at the V-Plex, 12:30 p.m. So if you get a chance to go and do that. The council right now is in the middle of working on one of the biggest things that we do, and that is the budget that we do every year. So just giving everybody a heads up that we're in the process of doing that. It's a good time to talk about pickleball and any of those things that you want to try to find in the budget. We've got a retreat coming up on August the 31st. The council and myself and several administrative leaders will be in a retreat. We're not going to be relaxing by the pool. In fact, we're going to be looking at the master plan for parks and recreation, along with a wide-range city branding project as we begin to change the branding for the city to make it more consistent across the city. We'll also be taking a look at the salary study that was commissioned last year that now has been submitted for review, and a host of other long-range plans. So with that, I am going to open it up to council updates. Are there any council members that would like to be recognized for comments or updates? Miss, she's going to wave me down. I'm just looking around. Miss McPherson. Well, I just didn't turn around and look that way.
I'd also like to say I've taken the Citizens Police course. It is very worth the time. I put it off for a number of years because I thought, how am I going to put... Wait, y'all can't leave yet because I haven't told you that I was wondering why all those police officers were here when I came in, and then I realized it was because of the pickleball people. Y'all go. And now I know there truly is a chance at world peace because apparently we can achieve it through pickleball after hearing tonight. Anyway, on the police course, it took a while to get around to doing it because you have to dedicate, was it 6 weeks in a row of meeting? Is it 9? It's a good commitment of additional meeting for several hours. It is very worth your while. It's been an honor and a great opportunity for me to be able to serve in Ward 3 these last 9 years. And even though I serve the people of Ward 3, ultimately it comes to working with people across all the wards and businesses and everything else. I'm in my 9th year, and while your decisions as a representative sometimes don't always make everybody perfectly happy, sometimes people might be really disappointed in the way something turned out. The majority of the time, I have found that citizens have been extremely gracious and encouraging to me, even sometimes when I was unable to give them the answer, they wanted. But I think what you do is you give it your best shot at helping people with their needs and their concerns, whatever that might be. It could be pickleball courts. It could be something a lot more serious, in their life or financially. But you know what? You do your best, and you give them your best. And when you can say yes, you do. And other times, sometimes it's not something that can be solved by the government. I wanted to at least make a public statement so people would know that later this month, I will be stepping down from my council seat and I will be running for mayor in the November election. Thank you to the citizens who have given me the opportunity to serve you and represent you these last 9 years in the Ward 3 council seat. Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Okay. Seeing no one else, I'll close the council updates, and we will move on to the consent agenda. So earlier today, this afternoon at 1 o'clock, the council met in a work session, and these items are all the items that we were able to place on the consent agenda where there were no objections, and these items would generally have passed without objection. So I'm going to read these off, and at the end, I'll ask for a motion to adopt the consent agenda, or I'll ask if there are any objections to any of the items. Item number 1, consent item number 1, fiscal year 24 medical and ancillary insurance renewal. Consent number 2, fiscal year 24 insurance premium rates. Consent number 3, temporary placement of signage for the rodeo organized by Clint Chance. Consent item number 4, employee training, implicit bias. Consent number 5, cost for lighting along Mirror Lake Boulevard pathway. Consent number 6, revision to Code of Ordinances, Villa Rica fats, oils, and grease policy. Consent number 7, temporary signage for fundraiser sponsored by the Villa Rica Lions Club and Golden City Lions Club. Consent number 8, final plat approval for Connors Landing. Consent number 9, final plat approval Charleston Place Phase 3. Consent number 10, new Christmas decor for downtown. Consent number 11, Three Rivers Commission Area on Aging contract for services, fiscal year 2024. Consent number 12, purchase of 4 Ford Utility Interceptor Explorers at state contract pricing. Consent number 13, tree removal and stump grinding in Berkeley and Reed Plantation subdivisions and Connors Road path. Consent number 14, scheduling of citywide cleanup for October the 9th through October the 20th, 2023. Consent number 15, Connors Road Park Engineering by Falcon Design. Consent number 16, approval of Placer.ai marketing development tool. Consent number 17, design of South Street improvements with Georgia and West. Consent number 18, development of Carroll County incentives policy. And consent number 19, disclosure notification by Stevens for Urban Redevelopment Agency bonds. Does anyone have any objections to those items? If not, is there a motion to adopt the consent
I'll
agenda?
make that motion to adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
Have a motion from Mr. Carter to adopt the consent agenda and a second from Mr. Montahan. All in favor? All right, that is unanimous. And with that, we get to clear off a chunk of the agenda. All right, let's move into governing body A1, approval of April 11, 2023 minutes. Council, you've had an opportunity to review these. Item 2 is the approval of the May 9, 2023 minutes. Are there any modifications or changes to these that you would note? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the April 11, 2023 minutes as presented? So moved. Have a motion to approve the April 11, 2023 minutes as submitted. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. McPherson. All in favor? All right, that's unanimous. Same thing for for May 9, 2023 minutes. Is there a motion to approve as submitted the May 9, 2023 minutes? I have a motion from Ms. Marchman to do that. Is there a second?
Second.
A second from Ms. McCoy. All in favor? All right, that is also unanimous. Okay, item A3, reconsideration of VA-0323. Mr. Carter has asked to be recognized.
Yes, sir. At the last meeting, the July meeting, we considered a variance by the owner of the cornhole business over here on Connor Road. He had a metal structure, and you probably won't be able to see this, but he installed a metal structure for his vehicle.
Well, hang on just a second. Mr. Carter, I think what I need to do, and David, you're going to have to walk me because we rarely ever do this. But
Okay.
I think I need a motion from Mr. Carter to to
I'll get
reconsider
to the
this?
motion.
I think he can introduce
Introduce
what he's
it? Okay,
getting ready
good.
to make a
I
motion.
just want to make
I'm
sure.
sure the audience wants to know what VA 03.3
Oh, I do.
is.
I just want to make sure Mr. Mecklen's right there on board.
Yeah, this is the equivalent of Ron making a presentation before a vote.
Go ahead.
All right, anyway, he asked for variances so he could keep his metal structure for his vehicle. And I voted with the ones that were here to deny those variances. And then I took a closer look at what he had over there, and it's a temporary structure, temporary metal structure. And I've decided that we probably did him wrong by doing that there's nothing wrong with his little metal structure to park his vehicle under. So the motion I have, I'm going to make a motion to reconsider VA-03-23.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, David, he makes a motion to do that, and then he needs to get a second for that, and then we open it up? Is
Yeah,
that?
you need to make he made the motion, you need a second from somebody else who voted with the majority to deny the variance last week. And then you vote on that as to whether or not the council is going to reconsider it.
And then you open it up just
And
like
then
a
you
new
open it
item?
up, right.
Okay. I
You'll
just
have
want
a
to
do-over.
I just want to be clear on that. Okay. So Mr. Carter has made a motion to reconsider VA-0323. Is there a second from one of those who voted in the majority on this item originally? All right. There is no second, so that motion will die.
Motion dies for lack of a second.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Let's move on to Community Development, B1. Amendment to Section 2.02 and 11.05 of the Villa Rica zoning ordinance in order to establish the joint city/school board committee. And this item requires a public hearing. We did hear a little bit on this item earlier today. I'm going to ask Ron to introduce it, and then we will move from there. Hello, Ron.
How you doing? How's everyone doing tonight?
All right, go ahead.
Sorry, my iPad. I'm clicking the button and it's not clicking. Hold on. All right. So earlier today in the work session, we did discuss this item. This is the creation of a joint city school board committee with the Carroll County School District. And we have, I've been working with the city's legal team to have the appropriate language in here. And we did make some changes in between the work, or at least got you the newest version of this different documents here, this 11.05 and 2.02. And the Planning Commission did vote for approval 3-0 for this. And they did have some questions that we did, I believe, pretty much answered at the work session, or at least had some discussion on. So the staff is recommending approval.
Okay. All right. Is there any questions for Ron before we do a public hearing on this? Anybody? Okay. All right. So I need to do a public hearing. So if there is anybody here who would like to speak for or against this item, I would give you an opportunity to come up now. Anybody? Okay. All right. I will close the public hearing on this. I'll revert back to council and staff. Is there any questions from council now for staff? Mr. Mecklen?
I have a question. Could you put up section 2.02 so that I can make sure that you've got the right version of it? If you go down to the membership, because I'm looking at it and it still looks like on the version that's shown up that it was a 7-member committee. Now, it is now a 5-person committee, so this is still not the right revised version. The only difference between what you have and what we have is that there are now only 5 positions. 2 by the first one appointed by the Carroll County School Board is correct.
So, Mr. Mecklen, are you showing me something?
This is the version that Ron just handed out before the meeting. It only has 5.
Okay.
On
Yeah,
this version?
So
Okay.
that version is the correct version. It's 5-member board.
Okay, so members of the council, you will be voting on the version that you have in your hand. There was one of these left here for everybody.
I have it somewhere here.
Okay.
But I just know.
Is that the only thing, though?
Yeah,
So
looking at- I
if it's
looked-
5 on here, then you're
That's
good?
right.
Okay.
If you, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's on
correct
there.
on the board now. It was reduced from 7 to 5.
Yes, sir, I understand. Okay. All right, council, do you have any questions for David or Ron regarding this item?
Ron.
Mr. Montahan.
Okay, so section 11.05 is one of the ones that I spoke about earlier, but it's not in, this is only section 2.02, the updated version, so I just,
Yeah, the updated version, that's also in there, in that same folder, Teresa. Up one, there you go. Down, keep going. Down, down, down. It's another bold section. There. Down one more. There you go.
all right, yeah, okay. Thank you.
Okay, if there are no additional questions, is there a motion? Does anybody have this pulled up?
Yeah, I got it pulled
Mr.
up.
Carter.
I move to approve the proposed amendment to section 2.02 of the City of Villa Rica zoning ordinance as attached hereto. We're just going to do these one at a time.
Let's do that. Yeah,
Okay.
let's do that. All right, I have a motion from Mr. Carter. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Montahan. All in favor? All right, that is unanimous. Mr. Carter.
Okay, I move to approve the proposed amendment to section 11.05 of the City of Villa Rica zoning ordinance as attached hereto.
Second.
All right, I have a motion from Mr. Carter and a second from Mr. Montahan. All in favor? All right, that is unanimous. Mr. Carter.
That's it.
That's all? There was only 2? Okay. My computer's not coming up, so. All right. Let's move on. Ron, B2, VA-06-23, 395 West Bankhead Highway. This is a variance to reduce the number of required drive-through queuing spaces. This item will also have a public hearing. Is the applicant here? Oh, I see him. It's okay. I knew I'd recognize you. Give us just a minute. All right, Ron, introduce this item if you would.
Yes, well, you've done about 90% of it already. It's just the reduction of that one parking space. I'll orient the public.
Okay.
So this is at the corner, the northwest corner of North Dogwood Street and Bankhead Highway, 395. It's currently, we know it as the ice machine lot. I always want to call it the ice cream lot. I don't know why. But the applicant has applied for that reduction of the number of drive-through spaces we require for a restaurant, 7 queuing spaces in a drive-through for vehicles to stack, and they're proposing 6 spaces, and so they would need a variance from that. So the staff is recommending a denial just based off of it being in a self-imposed condition.
Sure. Okay. But I'll clarify again. The requirement is 7. But that is an across-the-board requirement, no matter what type of drive-through it is for restaurants, but for restaurants. And so there's a difference, at least what the applicant's going to tell us, between this business and what would typically be found. But the only stacking he's asking for is a one-car reduction, right?
That's right, just one car reduction.
Okay. All right. Council, you have any questions for staff? All right. Let's hear from the Mr. Applicant, would you like to speak? You didn't seem very enthusiastic about that.
No, I mean, hello,
You don't like
everybody.
coming to see us?
No, I love to come and see you guys.
All right, that's what I was thinking.
So, my name is Rohel Hara, 6331 Crestgate Lane, Tucker, Georgia. Here for this variance. When I was here last time, we had this discussion about the stacking space at that time too. And I believe the council was in agreement that this is a odd site, so a 1 space reduction is okay. But we didn't have an official variance in there. So hence, I'm here again.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I'm going to do a public hearing if you don't have anything else.
I don't have any comments. If you guys have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions? All right. Let me do a public hearing. Is there anybody here who would like to speak for or against this variance? Okay. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. I will revert back to staff and council.
I got a question.
Yes, sir, Mr. Carter.
Ron, since we're only talking about 1 parking space, Do you think it's possible with that, that's a triangular, it's that little triangular part, South Dogwood and 78, that nobody's been able to do anything with? Somebody's finally come forward to try to use that piece of property, and they're trying to put a couple of businesses in there. Do you think it's possible for them to actually to put 7 spaces in and not interfere with the other business?
Well, I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna orient myself back to their construction plan here.
That's the
Before I
drive-through
answer that.
portion we're talking about.
Yes, the drive-through.
And if they get too many cars, they're going to interfere with the parking at the other business.
I'm just gonna take a quick look. Just brief me. Oh, perfect. Thank you. So as you guys could see there, there's 6 spaces that are actually shown there, and it would not interact with any of the other parking spaces that are nearby. Maybe cars that are actually entering. If it was stacked all the way with 6 spaces, if there was an additional car that came along, they would probably block 1 or 2 parking spaces that are there. However, assuming that this is a quick service restaurant, as the applicant states, then we're not expecting large amounts of queuing on the lot, other than just for really the gas station, not so much for the other use. Does that answer your question?
So you're saying if they add an extra car, that doesn't interfere with the parking for the other business?
I'm saying that it would interact with 2 parking spaces that are reserved for, I assume it's for any of these businesses really. There's no reserved parking spaces on here, but obviously there would be some in and out problems for those 2 parking spaces if they are completely stacked all the way back.
Okay, if he just painted some lines on the pavement, this is another parking place, would that satisfy it?
Well, the 7th car would still need to queue somewhere.
Beg your pardon?
The 7th car, that hypothetical 7th car would still need to queue somewhere. So even if we were to put paint on the ground that says don't block or do not block, where is the 7th car going to go?
It's going to be behind the 6th car.
But in front of that parking space.
Yeah, it's going to block a parking space temporarily, but there would be room for 7 cars if you line them up.
Sure.
If you pull into McDonald's or Wendy's or a number of places, it blocks parking spaces in their drive-through. I mean, it happens sometimes.
All right. Anybody else? Mr. Mompton?
Yeah. Well, actually, I have a question for the applicant whenever y'all are ready for that.
All right, let me let Ms. Marchman do her question.
I said, well, you're saying 7 would block something, but if you did 6, that would be sort of okay?
It wouldn't block a space, but the question would be, because we're starting with the ordinance having 7 spaces called out as an expectation for a restaurant drive-through. So if they were to supply 6 spaces and there is a 7th vehicle, we would still need to really, from a staff perspective, know where that 7th car is going to stack.
Does that got you, Ms. Marchman? Okay, Mr. Mompton.
Well, I have my questions for the applicant.
That's fine.
Okay.
Mr. Applicant, come on up.
Okay, so my understanding on this is that this is going to be for mobile orders primarily. Is that from your previous presentation? Is that correct?
Yeah, mobile or online orders.
Okay.
Through websites.
And so the cars will pull up and just pick up the food. They're not going to order the food. There's not going to be a menu board.
There's not going to be a menu board.
And there's not going to be a speaker box to place an order.
No.
Okay.
No, it's just a pickup window.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else have any questions? All right, Ms. McCoy.
So if that's the case, where are they going to go if they don't mobile order? They
can park up front and just walk in to place their orders.
Okay, so they would have to park in the space that could potentially be blocking by the 7th car.
Not necessarily, because they can park up front as well.
Oh, okay.
And also, I mean, if you look at it, the cars are aligned very much with the curb. But
Mhm.
if the cars switch a little bit, towards the between the pumps and the parking, we can leave enough space for those things too. And we'll, I mean, again, when people start coming in, they start to adjust with what they have. And it's, 6 cars or 7 cars. Even if we provide 7 cars, there might be an issue for 8th car. If there is one, which I highly doubt, we'll have 8 or 9 cars standing. It's not a McDonald's or Wendy's or something.
So
Like that.
so when you say mobile ordering, is it going to be like I'm thinking of McDonald's because that's where I go the most. Is it going to be like McDonald's where it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and they go there?
No. So for our mobile orders or online orders, they just pull up the window. They'll tell us that, hey, our order number is 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll just bring out the pizza, give it to them, and they're out. So it's about 30 to 45 second stop at the window because pizza should be ready by then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
All right, Mr. Montan.
I have a question for Ron.
Okay, well, you keep going back and forth. Is there anybody else got any questions? All right, let's let this be the last one.
All right, Ron, so does the ordinance define what a drive-through is?
I believe it does, actually. A drive-through establishment, I believe, is what they.
All right, what does the definition say? If you can pull it up quicker than I could. I don't have it, but.
Ooh, gosh, I will try to be quick. Bear with me here. Okay, scrolling here.
We got one of those Jeopardy clock
All
sounds
right.
we could play in the background. You got it?
Yep, I got it.
Go.
Drive-in restaurant, a facility including a building and adjoining parking area, the primary function of which is selling food to the public by order from and service to passengers in vehicles parked outside of the structure. Drive-in restaurants may also provide seating inside of the building.
That's for a drive-in, though. That's like a Sonic or a Varsity. That's not for a drive-through, though.
I'll see if I have another definition here.
All right, because if absent a definition in let me just kind of get to the point. Absent a definition in the ordinance, we are charged to use the commonly accepted definition. And I think most people would agree that when they think of a drive-through, they think of a facility where they pull up and they speak to a speaker and they order off a menu board. The applicant has represented us tonight to that's not what he's going to do, or that's not what this facility or business will be doing. And so if therefore the ordinance, in my view, and I'm just one of 5 up here, doesn't apply to the applicant. And so I'm inclined to vote to accept this variance request, only because I really don't believe, in my view, unless the ordinance tells me otherwise by definition, that this is a drive-through in the first place.
Well, read that definition again, Ron.
Sure. Let me go back. Restaurant. Here we go.
Because I didn't make the distinction that you did, Councilman, about whether or not, about this being similar to a Sonic. It sounded to me like what he said was that a drive-through was a food establishment whereby there was an adjoining parking lot and where you would pull up and order and receive food in a window. I think that is a drive-through.
But he didn't say in a window, though. He said in their cars, because he gave the definition of a
I don't
drive-in
know how
restaurant.
she's going to do it, except
Because he
if they're in
gave the
the car.
definition of a drive-in restaurant, though.
Okay, well, that's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
We also have another, within the section itself, it says drive-in establishment uses include restaurants, banks, and other financial facilities, automatic teller machines, cleaners, pharmacies, and similar uses. It goes over the purpose of these regulations. Let me see.
Well, it sounds like drive-through there is a much broader
Yeah,
definition.
Council.
Yeah, they're already ordered.
I don't think this is all that complicated. I mean,
I'm ready for a motion.
let's just get.
Yeah,
let's-
so
I'm
that
ready to
does,
make a
that very
motion.
much helps.
Well-
Yeah.
Hang on.
If I could say, I'm inclined to approve the variance, but perhaps on a condition that a menu board or speaker box cannot be installed, so that it fits in with what we've been represented to this evening as being what the, so if anybody wants to make a motion, that's the kind of motion I would support, or I can make the motion.
Let me just ask you, you're good with that, not having a menu on the wall or that kind of thing? No, but I want to hear him say it because he just heard that it was going to be a condition, or it could be a condition. Okay. To me, this is a lot more simple, and I know we've had this conversation before. I mean, the fact of the matter is the type of establishment that you're proposing here is not traditionally what we think of. I just want to make the point that staff is charged with the letter of the ordinance, and I expect that we will always do our best to follow our own ordinances or modify them if they need to be modified. I think the term common sense probably would be thrown around in this particular conversation, but shouldn't be, because the fact of the matter is every situation is not common sense per se, but it is different. This case is different. I don't see how we need to comply with 7-car stacking in an establishment where the food is probably already ready, and if it's not, it will be pretty quick. So I think that this variance should be granted here when I am typically more inclined not to be in favor of variances, but I think staff is right. I know you're frustrated to be here again, but it doesn't serve anybody, I think, for us to suggest to you that we don't have a process that we have to follow through. So with that being said, I'm certainly okay with, and I'm sure somebody will be okay also with that condition that Mr. Montahan just discussed, and you've already said that you're good with it to begin with. So that being the case, yes, sir.
If I may, I just, the reason to clarify why I would want to add that condition is because if for some reason Little Caesars were to back out of this deal and a McDonald's or some other kind of traditional drive-through restaurant were to come in, then I want to limit them in that way because we are premising this based upon
That particular
representation
use.
and the use.
I completely get that, and you can understand that. You could probably say to us today, that'll never happen, but what if it did?
And just to put your mind at ease, we own Little Caesars franchises. Like, we have Little Caesars restaurants, and that's what is approved for, and that's what we are going for. So
Very good.
we actually don't own any other food franchises as of yet. So that's the only thing we are putting there.
Okay.
If that puts your mind at ease, but by all means, if you feel more comfortable putting condition, I'm all for it.
More than ready.
Are you going to do the condition?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I will recognize Ms. McPherson for that motion.
I move to approve the requested variance from section, I'll add the condition, 7.0215B by MQSK LLC as presented, with the condition that there not be a menu board or a order speaker. Close enough?
Okay, that's good. Okay. And I have a second from Ms. Marchman. All in favor? All right, that is unanimous. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody.
And we still look forward to coming down there and seeing
And
it.
we appreciate
You have to
it.
come back again.
We appreciate,
It'll come out there once it's all built up.
We absolutely will.
I want to
Thank
get our
you for
hot
being here.
readies.
let's see, there's 6 of us, that's about right.
That's probably about right. We could get 6 cars in the queue.
Walk up to the
All right, let's move on. This is going to be B3, VA-04-23, 924 Carrollton Villarica Highway. This is a variance to permit gravel parking. There's also a public hearing on this item. Ron, will you briefly introduce this item again?
Yes, sir. And just to orient the public, 924 Carrollton Villarica Highway is just south of the Bojangles and it's directly north of the Shell gas station, north of Tolbert Drive. The applicant in this case, Jerry Tolbert, he's looking to install a 60-foot by 20-foot parking pad that's strictly just gravel parking. For a business, this would be for a for storage buildings to be placed on the lot for people to come and shop and pick them up. And so they need a parking area for that. The staff is recommending denial, being that it is a self-imposed condition, and we, of course, have general concerns with ADA compliance, long-term maintenance of the gravel, et cetera. And the applicant should be here. Yes, Doug, he is here this evening if you have questions for him.
Okay, Council, you've been, you've had an opportunity to see this and to get a little bit of a presentation earlier today, but do you have any questions for staff at this point? Anybody? All right, the applicant is here. Sir, would you like to come up and make some comments? Come on up. We saw you earlier. Good to see you again.
Okay. Like I said earlier, this area has been gravelled since 1966. Our concern with putting in a parking pad on the actual side that we would want to put it, it may affect the drainage of this property. It's, like I said, it's been gravel for many, many years. I would hope to be able to use a gravel parking pad to, and then, of course, clean up the property. I know there's, it's not very pretty right now. It's a kudzu field, basically. We would put in the pad, have a machine come in, mulch everything down to the ground. The way the property is laid out, it makes it easier for us to deliver because there is access from both roads, even though that road in between is gravel. There is no, the only concrete is up by the gas station. Everything below that is gravel, and the road coming across is gravel. And it would actually probably look out of place to put a concrete pad or a paved pad in the middle of that. It's not like, also, there's not going to be a lot of cars there at any given time. I can't imagine utilizing 6 parking places at once. I was notified this afternoon that there's actually 2 acres across the street that's not in the city. But I prefer this location. I would much rather the city get the tax revenue off of our sales. And it just, and actually, there's a sign on the property, I think, that's been kind of a bone of contention before that's not very pretty. Of course, we would renovate that, maybe plant some flowers, shrubbery around it. Just, like she spoke earlier, that area is the gateway to your town. And we would like to make it, look pleasing and nice, not only for our product, but, for it coming into your town.
Gotcha. All right, Council, do you have any questions for the applicant? All right, Ms. McPherson.
Is it Mr. Morrison? I'm
It is,
sorry.
yes.
I was trying to remember. Okay, because I knew it was a different Mr. Tolbert on the application.
Yes.
I don't really have a problem with the gravel per se. Sometimes that's the best way to get the water clean. It has a way to go. You have less runoff and everything. I was thinking that I had read somewhere in your application that people that they're not actually coming there and shopping, they buy it online.
You can actually do both. We wanted the opportunity to do both. But
So is there an office, or
There would
it's
be
they're
just-
buying online, somebody meets them?
we would use one of the portable buildings for a temporary, an office if somebody decided to buy in person. But there'll be flyers in each building that you can actually scan with your phone, the barcode. You can do the whole purchase right there by yourself. You don't even need anybody.
Okay, so I was thinking something about that.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what's it sounds like, from when I talked to Ron earlier today, that one of my biggest concerns is, I hate to say appearance, aesthetics, but it is the gateway into the city. And a lot of times we associate storage units with more of something out on a county road and that type of thing. And so that was my main question, was the aesthetics, what was going to look like. It's just going to be gravel with a bunch of storage buildings on it,
Yeah, it'll be gravel for the parking area, and then, to be honest with you, I know there is gravel underneath the growth, but it's hard to tell till we clear it off. And like I said, we bring these buildings in. They're brand new. They're painted all different colors. The roofs are all different colors. They're metal. Like I said, in general, a lot is, you want it to be pleasing to the eye because it attracts more sales.
All right, anybody else? Okay, do I need to do a public hearing on this? Yeah. All right, let me do a public hearing on this. Is there anybody here who would like to speak for or against this variance? Okay, no takers. All right, let me revert back to staff. Come on back up, Ron.
Yeah, I got a question for Ron.
Okay, Mr. Carter.
Ron, if this area has already got gravel on it, why does he need a variance? I mean, Can't you just leave it like it is?
Well, no. If you can see, it's just behind you here in that satellite. The gravel area that you're seeing that's not an existing parking area. That's a drive aisle, which is a pre-existing nonconformity on the lot. And so, if they were to add any gravel parking spaces, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, sir, then this would really be the first gravel parking spaces on the lot. So we have to go under the new zoning ordinance.
So right now, that path is a non-conforming use, and if we were to continue this, we would be enlarging. Essentially, we would be enlarging a non-conforming use if we then allowed the gravel to be extended beyond this non-conforming path.
Unless he gets relief.
Well, yeah,
yeah.
But that's how you get relief, is by us extending that. Okay, any other questions for staff?
I do have a comment on that. That area that you see that is overgrown, at one time, most of it was gravel. There was a barbecue restaurant that sat in the center of that property there. So, like I said, I don't know as to what extent is what's left under there, but that whole area in the front there was gravel.
Yeah, there was a cabin-like structure
Yes.
that Dre's Barbecue, and prior to that, I think a donut place had
Yeah.
been in there for a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we would actually just be, recovering what was there.
I see what you're saying. I'm probably still thinking that would still have not been a permitted use even then. I don't really know how it occurred. I do remember it being there, though.
I don't think you had the ordinance for the 6 parking places.
At that time?
There, yeah.
Yeah, it was-
Okay, all right. All right, council, do you have any other questions for Ron? Let me ask about, if there were to be a variance granted, is there a time, could there be a time limit on this? I mean, could we make it come up every year? David, I'm asking you.
Yes.
I'm a little bit concerned with this being the gateway to the city, and this being more of something that I would see in a more rural area. But it's very difficult for me to keep people from doing something with their property. But this would not be what I would think would be the most ideal use for this. But that's a little different from what you're stating as the reasons for denial from the staff. I'm thinking more of the impression that you get when you first come into the city. I wonder, how long do you think you would be here? I mean,
We would like to renew it annually.
so you would
Yes.
want to come back every
Yes,
year?
And built for another seller that was in the city of Villa Rica that moved.
Yeah,
They moved out into the county.
Yeah.
So we're wanting to open our own sales location. And, we intend to be here. Our factory's in Cartersville. We've been in this business for 16 years.
I got you. Okay, well, so if council has no other questions for staff, if there were to be a motion to approve this, I would ask that someone make this an annual application, that this has to come back annually. I don't know that there'll even be a motion to approve it. I just would suggest that. All right, I will recognize any council member who would like to be recognized for a motion. Is there anybody?
I will.
All right, Ms. McPherson.
And I just preface it with, go ahead, Ron. You had.
Wait,
I'm
Do you
sorry,
need
I don't
something?
mean to interrupt. I just had a sidebar with the applicant. He would entertain if we could, if he can pave it within a certain amount of years also. So basically like a delay and have the gravel parking, and then in X amount of time, whatever deadline that we can provide, he could have it paved.
okay, I feel like that might get a little beyond where we need to be today. I'd rather
throwing
us
that out there.
do something and put a time limit on it, and then maybe a new condition could come up in a year. If that were to happen tonight, then maybe in a year when you come back, somebody might say, look, I'm going to do this for another year, but under this condition, that within 2 years or 3 or something like that. I'd prefer to see it that way rather than us go down that rabbit hole tonight. But Ms. McPherson?
Yeah, and Mr. Morrison, before I make this motion, I want to preface that long run, long haul, this is kind of a compromise, because 10 years down the road, I'm not sure we want that there. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
long-term, as the city grows and everything, to have their storage units sitting there. So I think this might work out as a good compromise, because a permanent thing isn't being done there. It can be redeveloped, and it'd be great some years down the road to see that whole section redeveloped, you know, the gas station and everything.
Probably be priced out in the number of years out of that area anyway.
Exactly. When somebody comes along that wants to put something there that they can, you know, create, you know, more capital out of, there'll be the demand for that. So I feel a little bit more comfortable with what you've come up with here. I move to approve the requested variance for gravel parking from section 7.025 by Jerry Tolbert as presented, under the condition that it come back for a renewal variance annually.
Okay. That sounds very good to me. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Carter will second that motion. All in favor? All opposed? Did you raise your hand?
Yes, I did.
Which way? 4? Against. That motion will carry 4-1.
No, it was unanimous.
No, it was unanimous.
Oh,
She voted for it.
I'm trying my best here. You got a unanimous out of that.
The audience saw my hand.
The audience should have seen it. What would you do it like this?
I did just like this.
It was not a liquor permit.
All right.
It's getting late.
All right, thank you. All right.
And I think I'm gonna start playing pickleball after all this early.
I bet you will. You probably should. All right, B4, amendment to section 8.27, liquor stores, package stores, and liquor outlets of the Villa Rica zoning ordinance. There'll also be a public hearing on this item. Ron, give me one sentence.
Sure. So we are looking to remove. I'm trying to do one sentence. We're looking to remove four words out of the city ordinance for 8.27 that state that liquor stores have to be on a major arterial road.
Because Villa Rica does not have any major arterial roads according to our own.
Well, that's a run-on, but yes.
It is a run-on, but I'm trying to help you out. This is because we don't actually have those types of roads. And that's why we're making the change to the ordinance.
That's right.
Okay, let me do a public hearing. Is there anybody here who would like to speak for or against this amendment? Okay. I'll close the public hearing. I'll revert back, and can I get a motion?
I got a motion.
All right.
I have a question, I'm sorry.
Oh, really?
Yes. All right, but the proposed revision here says on a state highway or a major, it strikes through all that. So we have state, so we just want to strike the whole thing out? Is that what we're intending
Well,
to do?
because if you leave state highway, then it would be required to be on a state highway.
Okay.
We don't want to do that.
All right, because we only talked about the major arterial and not having that, but I noticed, we didn't address that in the conversation. That's what I was making sure.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Carter.
I move to approve the proposed amendment to 8.27 liquor stores of the City of Villa Rica zoning ordinance as attached here too.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Carter to approve the amendment. I have a second from Ms. McCoy. All in favor? All opposed? That will pass 4-1. I see it. Woo! I didn't miss that. All right. Thank you, Ron. All right. Let's go to Jennifer Hallman. C1, financial update, June 2023, and she's already there.
I'm here.
All right, let's go. It's still daylight. Oh no, the clerk is running behind.
We on the road and that we're gonna have to do something about you.
Okay, here we go.
All right, go ahead.
This is as of June 2023. We'll start with our cash. We had a 10% increase compared to the same time period last year. We're sitting at $32 million versus $29. General fund makes up $8.7 million. That is a decrease of 9%. Water and sewer fund at $3.8, which is a decrease of 62%. Again, as I have mentioned every month, don't be overly concerned about that. We had to transfer $2 million out of the general fund, $5 million out of the water and sewer to fund the Mirror Lake Connector Fuquay Development Agreement. That will be reimbursed or transferred back to those two funds once we issue bonds and we reimburse ourselves. So it's just a temporary decrease. Sanitation solid waste is at $231,000. The Fuquay development is sitting at $4 million. Then you have the 2015 Carroll Splost. That's dwindling down because we have the new Splost for Carroll County, but it's sitting at $500,000. The 2016 Douglas Splost is at $4 million. The 2021 Carroll Splost is at 7.2, and now the 2022 Douglas Splost, that is 2 months worth of Splost proceeds coming in at $311,000. Residential permits and taps, we're sitting at 30 building permits at around $70,000. Water taps at 38, sitting at $57,500, and sewer taps at 37 at $148,000. Local option sales tax, our lost, is still performing very well month after month compared to the same time period last year. There was a 13% growth in our Carroll County sales tax. We brought in $203,000 compared to $180,000 last year. And Douglas County experienced a 10% increase, going from $155,000 last year to almost $171,000 this year. Hotel motel tax is still performing very well as too. You can see we've collected $268,000 from October, the beginning of our fiscal year, through June of this year, which is a 7% increase compared to the same time period last year of $251,000. One of our enterprise funds, which is a business activity fund, is water and sewer. Total revenue is around $7.7 million compared to last year of almost $13 million. However, remember that includes the $6 million in ARPA funds last year that we received. That, of course, was a one-time revenue. Our expenditures are at 8.1, so right now we have a net loss of $370 or almost $380,000. Water department is the one department that probably has the most or the largest increase compared to last year. And over to the right, you can see that it's contributed. The salary and benefits contribute to $25,000 additional dollars being spent in salary and benefits compared to last year. Professional services is up to $23,000. Maintenance and repair buildings is up $25,000. Water tank maintenance $43,000, and water purchases $20,000. Our other business activity enterprise fund is the sanitation solid waste. We have generated around $1.3 million in revenue and about $1.24 million in expenses. So we have a net income right now of just under $60,000. Last but not least is our self-funded insurance. Our cash balance is $1.6 million, and each quarter you see that we have had savings that have ranged anywhere from just over $100,000 to $173,000. Overall, our contributions are $1.7 million compared to $1.3 in expenses, so our total savings is $422,000. And that concludes the presentation.
All right, council, do you have any questions for Jennifer? I know you've all probably already reviewed this.
Okay.
Always.
Thank you.
Good news. Go ahead. Looks good. Okay, let's go to C2, prerequisite resolution to exercise urban redevelopment powers. Mr. Macklin.
Yes, this resolution is necessary because we are funding the improvements out in the connector in a different way than we initially started to. It was going to be funded through a TAD bond. It's now going to be funded through an urban redevelopment bond. So, in order to do that, we have to create an urban redevelopment board. And this is the first step towards that process. At another meeting, you're going to actually appoint the board, which is going to be yourselves. But this is step number one to create or to authorize the city to begin forming an urban redevelopment board.
Okay. Are there any questions on this? All right. Who would like to be recognized? Mr. Carter.
I move to adopt the resolution and authorize the mayor and the city clerk to execute the documents as needed.
All right. I have a motion from Mr. Carter. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second from Ms. McPherson. All in favor? All right, that is unanimous. Let's go to C3, redevelopment plan amendment. This item has a public hearing.
Yes, and the purpose of this resolution is to comply with the agreements that we've entered into with both Carroll County and the Carroll County School District. In both of those agreements, we did state that we would review and revise our redevelopment plan, and the amendment is essentially adding in more projects that are contained in the redevelopment area above and beyond what was initially intended. So this is just a matter of cleaning up what we've already agreed to with the county and the school district.
Okay, and you did promise, Tommy, that you would take any questions tonight that the council has. So council, did you come up with any? No?
Bless you.
Shucks. Okay, let me do a public hearing here. Is there anybody here who would like to speak for or against this item? Okay, this has been the quietest public hearing night that I can recall having. I'll close the public hearing. I'll revert back. Is there anyone who'd like to be recognized for a motion? Mr. Carter.
I move to adopt the resolution and authorize the mayor and the city clerk to execute the documents as needed. Ditto.
Okay, is there a second? Ms. Marchman. All right, I have a motion from Mr. Carter and a second from Ms. Marchman. All in favor? All right, that's unanimous. We're moving right along. Now we're to the highlight of our evening. The moment we all wait for. Who has the popcorn? We recognize our distinguished city manager for his update. Mr. Barber.
Okay, so I think that I am getting closer to answering a question that I have been asking myself now for at least 2 years. So we're going to talk about water and sewer for a little bit, and then we're going to talk about the future of this. So start with water production. I'm not sure that you are really that familiar with these numbers, and I have learned some stuff about this recently that has helped me think about where we're headed. But we've said for a long time that we have a 60-year-old plant, so I'm assuming that's not even true anymore. I guess it's 65 years old, and I just hadn't kept up with it. But the plant was permitted before I got here to do 1.5 million gallons a day. When I got here, we were doing 1.3 million, and I was told that that was the physical limit of the plant. That even though we had permission to pull 1.5 million out of the reservoir, the plant could only produce 1.3 million. So that's what we were doing. We were using between 1.9 million and 2.1 million, depending on the time of year. And so we were buying that difference 100% from Carroll County Water Authority. So as time has gone by, we've made more and more progress on the sewer side of things where we had so many issues, especially with the lift stations, that John has been able to turn his focus more to the water plant, and lo and behold, we've been able to start making 1.4 million a day. So that's 1/6 of what we were buying on average. So that's a big deal. That's the money. We have an issue coming up though, and we've talked about this ever since I got here, and that is that purchase of water from Carroll County is under a contract that we signed on back in 2005. It's a 20-year deal, which means it's about to expire. And when it expires, we're going to get a close to 100% increase in price. The other thing that's happened more recently is we had a connection to Douglas County. It's a pump station out on Connors Road, and we never used it. So we've had a contract with them. The most recent contract was done in 2008, and it was at such a high rate, more than double what we're paying Carroll County, that we just never bought through it. But I was concerned that if something ever happened to the Carroll County production facility, that we were going to be in trouble, right? Because even though we had a contract with Douglas, and even though we didn't like the price, if we couldn't get water at all from Carroll, that would have been better than not having water, right? So I started pestering Pete, you know, let's get this thing running, let's get this thing running. That was back in, I think, December of 18. And he worked on that the whole rest of the time he was here and never could get it to run. So we changed pumps and we changed control panels, and I think we even changed engineers in there one time. And we finally got it to run, and it wouldn't fill up the Mirror Lake tank. So it turned out that when it was designed, it just wasn't designed to do that. It just didn't have enough power. So we had to back up and redesign the thing and then go through all that again. We finally got it to run, and then we asked ourselves the question, are we happy with having this pump station that now works and not use it? Because then you run the risk of it needing it one day and it not running because it's been sitting there unused. So we're now buying 150,000 gallons a day from Douglas, and we've been doing that since you approved it, which was 6 months ago maybe or so. The other thing that I've learned in here, hold on Teresa before you go, the other thing that I've learned in here is that we have two connections with Carroll. We have one at the plant and one down at the V-Plex. And they're not equal. And so what Erin does typically, or what she did do back when we were in the 1.3 production and we weren't using Douglas, is we were pulling 500,000 of the 600 from the plant connection, but only about 100,000 a day from the V-Plex connection. So you can see now we're pulling 150 from Douglas, so we're basically not using the V-Plex connection regularly, which sort of puts us back in the same situation where if we don't run that pump station, we run the risk of it, you know, not being happy with us over time. But anyway, so it's a consideration when we're going forward now, trying to decide, are we going to, when this 20-year contract's up, are we going to buy all of what we need from Carroll or all of what we need from Douglas or some of each? And if so, does that 500,000 that we're pulling into the plant dictate how we do the future contract? So all that's up in the air right now. Okay. All right. Can you go to the next one? So what did we do to help us with this whole situation with the two potential providers? So back in 2-3 years ago, I don't even remember, we hired Judd Turner, who was the former EPD director, to help us with our EPD applications and all the frustration that we have with those guys, and to also help us negotiate these two contracts. So he's been meeting with Gil Soraus and Douglas now for 2 years maybe, and he started meeting with Matt Wyndham at Carroll County in the last year. We're getting closer to having some concrete talks where we're having trouble just getting them to actually give us a number that we can respond to. But pretty soon, you and I are going to be talking about contracts here. Big price increases, though. The problem with that whole pricing future that we face is that we're in a 3-tier pricing structure. So we charge more the more you use. So the first 2,000 gallons cost one price, the next 8,000 cost a higher price, and then everything above that a higher price still. And that's intended to encourage conservation and to discourage use, right? That's that's sort of out of the EPD, EPA playbook. Our first tier is going to be lower than the new contract. So if you think back to the 2017 candy bar example that Sarah showed you about buying candy bars for $1 and selling them for 75 cents, that's where we're headed, right? And that's why we've been raising the water rate every year, right, is to try to get ahead of that so that we're at least breaking even at that bottom tier. We'll see. So we're about to also have that conversation. So in this budget cycle, between now and the next council meeting, we're going to talk about what are we going to do about this January 1 rate increase. Okay, so some things have been good. Believe it or not, I have to say something good once in a while or the mayor gets on me. So we have just about finished manhole rehab. We started that in 18. We hired Brennan to come in here and look at all of our lift stations and document them and generate a great big book of specs. And he must have investigated, I don't even know, I don't want to say a number. He investigated hundreds of manholes one at a time and documented, photographed them, what was wrong with them. And a couple of years ago, we hired somebody to come in here and start sealing them because what was happening is they were leaking, right? And so we were treating rainwater, groundwater. Those guys are just about finished, and we can see it in the plants, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. So now, that same crew is moving on to the lift stations. So out of the 32 lift stations, the contract calls for them to go in and seal 9 of the lift stations, and we're expecting another significant reduction in infiltration. The thing that we haven't fixed is we still have a capacity issue on the 61 corridor going down toward the V-Plex. And we were hoping to build the centerpiece of that fix when Avamore built, but Avamore is still on hold. In fact, they're coming back to us for renewal at the next meeting, right in the middle of our budget discussion. So that's coming up. The other thing that we are about to bring you is related to sort of the next slide, and that is we want to shorten the force main from Cleghorn to the West Plant. So right now, and don't ask me why, and nobody here can explain this, but the Cleghorn lift station, which is at the curve of Cleghorn and Anderson where the new apartments are going, that force main runs all the way to the West Plant. And what's wrong with that is it never connects to the gravity system. And there's gravity sewer along the way that it could have connected to. And once it gets into the gravity system, then there's no cost, right? Once it's in the gravity system, the gravity just takes it to the plant. So by shortening that force main and connecting it to the gravity system, what that enables the existing lift station to do is more work with the same pumps because they're doing less work. So they can, I don't know if I said that right, more flow, they can pump more volume with the same pumps because they have to work harder to do, work less hard to do it. I boogered that up, but you got the idea. Okay, so now we go to another, I think, good part. So let's look at talk about the 2 plants for a minute. So the West Plant's permitted to do 2.1 million gallons a day. The North Plant is 520,000. We are still only processing about 1 million gallons a day at the West Plant, even though we've grown, right? That's the manhole rehab right there. Because otherwise, I bet we'd be at 1.3 or 1.4 or something. And we'd be worried, right? Because we'd be looking at treatment at capacity in the short run. The only big project that we have over there is about a $1.7 million contract that you approved not too many months ago, where we're going to upgrade the influent structure. So the influent structure is where the stuff comes in, and the effluent is where it goes out. So we're going to redo the influent, which is where is the connection point of all the lines that all through Villa Rica that go to the West Plant. We're going to redo that structure. It's the old sewer plant. So that's the over there where now distribution and collections offices are. It's that old structure, and it's eaten up with acid, right? So that all that structure's just lived its life, and we're going to redo it. So when we redo that, we're thinking the West Plant is pretty good for a while, right? The North Plant we've already invested in. So we've spent the money that we're going to spend on the North Plant. And if you recall, we tried to get EPD to let us upgrade that plant to like 1.5 million gallons a day because we knew Mirror Lake was going to grow, right? We were going to build out Mirror Lake. And they said, yeah, sure, you can do that, but you got to change your discharge point to Sweetwater Creek, which is like 20,000 feet away or something. So we said, thanks, but no thanks. Well, the good thing, again, manhole rehab project, we're only processing 400,000 gallons a day. But that 120 difference is not enough for what we're about to add. So we're working on two projects. One is we're going to bring you a recommendation to replace the shoreline lift station, which is just before the bridge on the left if you're going east. We're going to move it across the street and enlarge it a good bit to handle this additional flow, but we're going to redirect it and have it pumped to Cleghorn, which goes to the West Plant. So we're going to take the whole north side of Mirror Lake from Brandywine over, and we're going to pump it to the West Plant. So that's another reason we need Cleghorn's force main to get shortened, because we're going to give it a lot more work to do, and we don't want to have to rebuild Cleghorn. Then the second thing we're going to do is we're going to try to redirect the Connors Road lift station all the way to Cleghorn and take it off of the North Plant. And if we do that, then we can comfortably add all this development in Mirror Lake, and the North Plant can operate without having to be upgraded and do that ridiculous change in the discharge point. Okay. The other good thing that we've done in all this millions of dollars that we spent is we fixed some fire problems. So the big one was Liberty Pool, and we put in a new 12-inch line on Edge Road, and that actually solved the problem. Pressures are up. I feel really comfortable about, what we're providing out there. We also added a new line on Highway 78 on the north side from Dairy Queen down to what's in the old Rite Aid, Dollar Tree. I think Dollar Tree. So we put in a new line on that side, and what that lets us do is feed both sides of 78 with short service lines, so we're not going under 78 anymore. That way we don't have leaks under 78, which are just one of the worst things we had to deal with. We have designed the new water line on Cleghorn Anderson. We haven't started putting it in yet because we're letting the apartments get done. The North Avenue line is being designed. It's going to be very difficult. If you've driven on North Avenue anytime recently, this picture big oak trees right on the side of the road. There'll be a new water line on the Mirror Lake connector from downtown out to Punkintown. There will be a new line through the Node 3, which will be from Anderson up to Old Stone, which is underneath the hospital. So there'll be a new water line there. And then at some point, and we're going to we need to talk about this. This is one of the things that's driving this conversation is we really need to put a water line in along the north bypass while it's being built. The problem was we don't have the money. But if we don't do it now, we're going to pay a whole lot more later to do it after it's built. So that's one of the things we're going to talk about in this budget cycle. And that's one of the questions I've been asking myself is, do we have the money? Because after 6 years of talking about this, we have a really good idea what the problems are. And we have a really good idea what the solutions are going to cost. And now the question is, can we do it? So, next one. Right now, we still owe about $30 million on the West Plant. And we've got a long way to go to pay that off. What we did when we refinanced it, though, is we leveled the payments. And so we took out the 2029 jump. So if you remember the way that those bonds were issued, there was a big jump in 2022 and another big jump in 2029. And we still had those bonds in 22, so we had to raise the rate a bunch of times, 18, 19, and 20, to get ready for that big jump. Or maybe it was early, maybe it was 20 or 21. But anyway, so we ate that one, but we avoided the second one by leveling the payments, but it made the payments bigger, right, earlier, but not that big severe jump. So we have that to deal with still, but at least it's a level payment. And we also have learned that GFUB is probably only going to loan us up to about $10 million. And we've already got $7 million of it committed. So we have to pay for the relocation of the utilities for both ends of the north bypass and the roundabout at Connors Road and 78. We've already got it obligated, I think, for the North Avenue, Anderson, Cleghorn work, and something else. I don't remember the third one. Ladies, what's the third one? The influent? Yeah, the West Plant influent. So those are the three. That's $7 million estimated. That doesn't take into account the indirect potable reuse project, which is like $60 million or something. A new water plant, which is $20 million. See where I'm going? And so I think I'm ready to answer the question that I've been asking, which is, can we do this? And I think the answer is no. That we can't borrow enough to do it. And so we're still on the same path that we've been on, which is to grow our customer base. But in the short run, until we get on the other side of that growth, I think we're tapped out. So one more, Teresa. And this is what we're looking at doing. So this is what's on the drawing board right now. It's about 2,900 units that have not been built. So I'm not talking about the Birches or Walton Phase 1 or the Dogwood, the 16 houses on Dogwood. I'm not talking about any of those. This is stuff that's yet to be purchased and lived in. 2,900 units on the Carroll side, and about 900 potentially on the Mirror Lake Douglas side. So that's what we know is being worked on. That doesn't include Avamore. It doesn't include the third phase of Summergate. I mean, there's some stuff that's not in there anymore because I don't see it happening in this, like 3-year time frame. So I think we're fixing to take our foot off the gas on capital in water and sewer, because I think that we're gonna enter a phase now for the next couple of years where we try to generate as much water and sewer tap money as we can, and we bank it. And we do some projects pay as you go, which is the way we did like the Edge Road project and the Highway 78 project. We do some smaller things like that. We see what the economy does, because housing is difficult right now because of the interest rate. So we'll see if all this stuff gets built, and then we're going to watch to see if it all gets absorbed. Because nobody can tell me, even in this market where there's such demand for housing on the one side, at the prices that these are going to be built for and with the interest rate that's going to be charged, if there's enough people to do that, which is 3,800 units. And those guys are not coordinated, right? So when Fuquay's building and Inline's building and Chapman's building and Twin Oaks is building, they're not working together, right? They're competitors, and it's almost the first man to the table, I think, is how this is going to work. And it may be that the back end of these 3,800 don't build, which I'm also waiting to see, because I do not have a crystal ball. I don't know that all 3,800 of these units are actually going to get completed and actually sell or be leased. So when we're in this budget cycle, and we're talking about 4 weeks, right? In about 4 or 5 weeks, we're approving the budget. We've got to make some big long-term decisions about this. The water rate, the sewer rate, our capital commitment to next year. It's all related to the big goal, which is potential water independence one day and getting out of these purchase contracts except for backup, and to control our own destiny to a certain extent. So that's where I'm at today. So questions?
Okay. The Villa Rica Parkway design, is it underway right now? Are they designing the path from Mirror Lake downtown to downtown?
They are working on it. And their focus now is on the Darden end, understandably, trying to minimize that dislocation. So that's what they're focused on right now.
So we don't really know the path yet.
I think I do, but I'm waiting on them to finalize it.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else?
Mhm.
All right, Ms. McPherson.
You said North Avenue, the line is being designed. Isn't that what
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
North Avenue, right.
Yeah. Is being designed. Any idea when that will happen?
When it will be finished? I think it's
When we'll
like
take that design
a
and...
month or two from being designed. It's almost complete.
Okay, so it's almost complete. Once the design is done, when do we see North Avenue line actually getting replaced?
Maybe we don't. Maybe we can't.
We told people we were, though.
We need to. Because we can't redo the road till we redo the water line, because the water line's going to tear the road to pieces.
Right, and we knew that, but I wouldn't have told people it was going to get done unless I was told it was getting done. And I don't know what you tell people if we're not doing it, or we don't know when we're doing it.
I'm planning to do it. We are still designing it. We just went out there and I just wrote it a week ago with the engineers. So, we're working on it, but at some point, we're going to get to the end of that GFA pool of money, and it's going to be, well, we only got this much left, and we got this much to do, and who gets it? That's going to be a hard decision.
So we really have no idea
This is going
when.
to be more than
Right.
Zifa.
Right, there's no
Okay.
question about that. All right, anybody else? Ms. McCoy?
So when you're talking about growing our customer base, in theory, shouldn't all these projects be done before the customer base grows? But instead, we're going to grow our customer base to get the money to do the projects? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, it's a chicken and the egg.
Okay.
Same with the roads. You need the people the population and the revenue in order to have the money to do the road improvements. But you add more people first, that just makes the traffic situation
And that's going to
worse.
make
You make it worse to begin with.
and they'll make the water and the sewer situation worse before it gets better.
Right.
But you have said that if we grow a certain way, it's less rooftops. So what is that, industrial and commercial?
Not on the water side. That helps on the traffic side.
I thought you said it helped with even water and sewer.
Just look at where that is. We have a really good distribution of the new growth all over the city, right? It's north of 20, south of 20, it's in Mirror Lake, it's all the way out to First Baptist. That seems healthy to me as far as the traffic goes. But it's still traffic. And even if we build Mirror Lake Connector, you still got to get to 20. That's where the action is getting to 20. It's going by Chick-fil-A and McDonald's and Crystal and going, over the bridge. That's going to be the two bottlenecks. And fortunately or unfortunately, those are not going to be our fixes. Those are both GDOT fixes. But they're being kept abreast of what's going on, so they know what's coming.
Did you not say, though, that there were certain industries and things that could take the place of needing additional rooftops?
I think that
That was my recollection.
Yeah, we have the potential to try to attract industrial. We still have not put together an industrial park, which is what we need to do. And we really couldn't while we were doing the TAD talks, because it would have so complicated the relationship with the school system and the county that, doing the TAD was hard enough as it turned out to be without having, that was a good decision to not mix those together.
All right, anybody else? Okay. All right, so, last month you talked about a lot of the GDOT projects, and you're sort of hinting about that now with regard to the number of projects that GDOT's doing here to bring about some relief to our traffic. But this issue, as I've said and as you've said, this chicken and egg issue is going to continue. And it may continue in every community everywhere. We're not picked for this uniqueness. You have to find a way to pay for the improvements, and usually the way to do that is you have some discomfort in the beginning as you work through it. But this water situation, this independence, this sort of being the masters of our own house question that we've been dealing with for several years is really taking up a lot of oxygen in the room, because we've got to decide, we're getting closer to that, about whether or not we are going to pursue efforts to be water independent, and it just looks like that is getting to the point of being cost prohibitive. But it's not something that that's not the answer we're looking for. We're trying to get to a yes, but it is getting very, very difficult to see how that works, especially as we've just learned about the limits on how much money we could borrow. Because what we've been doing every year when we talk about the budget is we talk about the impact of on the taxpayer here in the city of Villa Rica, but at the same time we go out and borrow millions and millions and millions of dollars to do these improvements. So at some point these two are going to, your credit card limit is going to reach its its max. And that's where we're getting to there, is we're getting to the max of what we can borrow. So we've got big decisions to make, and I think we're getting close to having to do that sooner rather than later. But we know a lot more about our situation now than we've known for several years, and I think we're getting to that point. Okay, anybody else have any questions for, all right, Mr. Carter?
Okay. The thing with the EPD or EPA, I don't know who it is, EPD, I guess, discharging the west plant into Cowan Lake. Anything going on with that?
Yes, and we have another meeting of all the engineers next Wednesday, a week from tomorrow. So I'll give you an update after that. But we're working that plan. It's just so expensive.
Oh, yeah. Okay, anybody else? All right, Mr. Macklin, do you have anything? Anything I need to clean up? All right. Any
Mayor?
council member? Yes.
Yeah, if I could just clarify something that happened earlier in the meeting, just to make it clear, when there was a motion to reconsider a variance issue, and there was not a second, I just want to be clear that I would have been the second had I been able to, but in order to second that motion, you had to be someone that had voted with the majority prior, and I had already voted, excuse me, I had already voted to approve the variance, so I could not be the second. It had to be two people that had been, I guess, against it, against giving the variance. I just want to clarify that because I thought that might have been a little confusing for people.
Okay, if there is nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. I have a motion from Ms. Marchman to adjourn. Is there a second? Mr. Carter,